environmental vein, the next question will be addressed to Delegate Freitas to begin. It comes from Matthew Nails in Yorktown, Virginia. Carbon dividends are an idea proposed by Republican leaders to combat climate change through free market principles. Essentially, carbon dividends are a carbon tax on emissions coming from factories, ports, wells, whatever, with all proceeds going to American families. What is your stance on this proposal?
I think one of the problems that we have, again, with the whole issue of anthropogenic global warming is that we keep going back to this idea of we have scientists that are researching the issue with respect to climate, and then they come to a particular conclusion, and then they immediately go into a policy discussion. So they may be independently qualified to make determinations with respect to what is going on within the climate, even though it's an incredibly complex subject. But then that doesn't necessarily translate into now they're experts with respect to public policy, economics, et cetera, et cetera. So the problem I have with the carbon credits and whatnot is, once again, we're not allowing the free market to work. If you really want to ensure that we have good stewardship of the environment, enforcing private property rights is absolutely critical, because now if you're engaging in polluting activity and it's affecting my property, I now have a grievance against you, and I can go to the courts and I can get compensation as a result. But if we bring the government in to micromanage the process, that becomes problematic, because now not only are we not necessarily achieving our goal and we're infringing our property rights, but a lot of times we see issues like the catalytic converter, where the federal government comes in and says, you have to use this particular method, even though technology catches up with a better method for protecting the environment and greater fuel efficiency. At the same time that now we've restricted producers and innovators to an old technology. So I think overall, when we look at the environment, we need to protect private property rights, we need to allow the free market to work, so that way when we get to things like renewables, it happens through the free market as opposed to government subsidization and regulation, which I think ultimately stunts innovation and creativity.
Thank you, Delegate Freitas. Chairman Stewart, you've got 60 seconds.
I think we're beating a dead horse here. I think the only thing I'm going to add to this is that if you do believe that carbon dioxide emissions lead to man-made global warming, the answer is not to try to limit it through regulation, folks. The answer has always been the same. Those economies that are furthest developed are the least polluters. The United States, in the 19th century, our environment, whether it's water quality or air quality, was in terrible shape. But as we've progressed, as our technology has improved, we've become cleaner. And we are on the cusp of a revolution, by the way, in the automotive industry. The first one really since the automobile was invented. And that is, in just a few short years, you're no longer going to be driving gasoline-powered engines, you're going to be driving battery-powered engines and motors, and that is going to make a huge difference in reducing emissions. Again, though, I don't believe, and I do believe that global warming, at least man-made global warming, is a hoax, and I don't think we should be making policy decisions based on something that is unproven.
Thank you, Chairman Stewart. Bishop Jackson, you have 1 minute.
Well, to my knowledge, the only thing that the whole carbon credit scheme has done for us is make Al more rich. So I think whenever government comes up with these schemes, it is subject to political abuse, and that's what we're seeing now. And I think, frankly, both my colleagues have just made my argument, which is most Americans want a clean environment. We're not interested in trying to destroy our environment. We want to enjoy it. But you get these bureaucrats who want to use their power to force us to basically adopt their worldview. And their worldview is that we're all dying and it's just a matter of time. Remember, Al Gore was predicting that by now polar bears should be going by on ice caps. But none of that has happened. So I think that free market principles are what we need. Stewardship, not control.
Thank you very much. Next question is going to be directed to Chairman Stewart. It comes to us from Marcy Springen of Albemarle County. The subject of the question is drug abuse. Recent statistics show last year 60,000 Americans died from opioid or various other drug abuse. Since there are so few psychiatric hospitals or long-term care facilities, how would you address this problem?
You know what percentage of opiates 3%. Do you know what percentage of heroin, which is an opiate, comes across our border with Mexico? 100%. Building the border wall is necessary not just to keep out illegal aliens, but to keep out illegal drugs that are destroying communities here and families in the United States. We need to restrict the supply of the opiate, and we've got to stop it. It is destroying families, especially Southwest Virginia and the Valley, but across the entire state. Now, it's a very difficult thing to address, but I do remember the 1980s, and then it was cocaine and crack, and eventually it was dealt with. But it's got to be dealt with, and one thing that we can do, and I know people who have personally done this, but I think that a reason a lot of people get addicted to opiates in the first place is because of legal prescription drugs that are provided to them as painkillers, and so they turn on that and they get addicted to heroin afterward. I think it's time that we offer up the use of medicinal marijuana for those who wish to treat the chronic pain. That's my solution, at least in the short term.
Thank you, Chairman Stewart. Bishop Jackson, your thoughts?
Listen, there's no way you can address the complex issue like this in 1 minute. But let me give you a quick anecdote. I went to the doctor one time many years ago, and I had a terrible cough, and the doctor prescribed me cough medicine. And I got home, and I took the first teaspoon or two, and about 10 minutes later, I started noticing how good I felt. And I'm thinking, this is unusual. What did he give me? Well, it was an opioid-based cough medicine. And it had already started to make me high. Now, you know what I did with it? Threw it away. Now, why? Because there's something down on the inside of me that has a satisfaction that doesn't come with drugs. And frankly, it's my faith in God. It's my walk with Him. We got to come back to this idea that some things are bad and unhealthy. You know, we spent a generation telling you guys and younger people that well, there's no real right or wrong, there's no real truth or falsehood. You know, everything is kind of up for grabs. It's time we came back to this idea that there are healthy things and there are unhealthy things, that there are good things and there are bad things. And here again, I know that's not the whole answer, but that's part of the answer that we've got to come back to. Because you know what, as long as there is a market for these drugs, somebody is going to sell them. And so we've got to go after the demand as well as the supply.
Thank you, Bishop Jackson. Delegate Freitas?
I think we need to rethink the war on drugs policy that we've had at the federal level. I think we also need to recognize that, quite frankly, when it does come to things like marijuana, it's not really the role of the federal government to regulate that. It's why I was a co-patron for legislation with respect to medicinal marijuana within the Commonwealth. The other thing that I would say, though, was that I carried additional legislation which I was a patron for that's passed. This one passed, of course, so it's good. What we essentially did is we said we have all this state property that's essentially sitting empty. Right? And we actually pay for people to go around this property, turn the lights on, flush the toilets, and keep it active. It's not fulfilling any specific purpose. And what I said was that I want 501c3s that specifically deal with drug addiction. I was really focused on community-based organizations because what I found through my research is that if the government comes in and tries to provide another program on this, it just doesn't work. But when you have a community-based program that is staffed by people, whether it's peers, people who have dealt with the same addiction problems, or someone that has been deeply touched by it, they go through and they actually do the research and they stick with it and they provide people sort of long-term care that they need to in order to be able to recover and then get out of the environment which actually contributed to behavior in the first place. I think the other thing that we need to do is we also need to look at some of our criminal justice reform with respect to who we actually need felonies to.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. That's okay. Our next question starts off with Bishop Jackson and it has to do with spending. I think this is an area that many of the people in the room share some concerns. The question comes from Kyle Hoffman of Glen Allen, Virginia. Many conservatives have been outraged by recent omnibus spending bill. What are your thoughts on the bill, and how would you change it if you were given the opportunity to weigh in on the U.S. federal budget?
Well, look, it was horrible, and I'm deeply disgusted by it. I'm sorry that the president signed it. I wish that he had put those vast negotiating skills to work to make sure that nothing like that ever got signed. I'm tired of being betrayed by people in the United States Congress who say they're conservative and then continue to load you guys, frankly, with debt. Believe it or not, I'm 66 years old. I don't look at they over 65. But you guys are going to be the ones saddled with all this debt. Look, there are a number of things from the symbolic things, which I know won't necessarily help the deficit, like not funding Planned Parenthood. I mean, to me, by now, we ought to have taken care of that and stop spending $500 million or more funding the destruction of our unborn children. I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's an easy one. And look, I'm glad that we're doing better with our military. We need to do better with our military. We've spent 8 years with President Obama doing everything he could to limit the military. I think, frankly, we got a little deeper than just shaving off here and there. I think we got to look at the fundamental role of the federal government. Ask, are there things that we're spending money on that we shouldn't be spending it on? 75% of it, remember, is entitlement spending. And somewhere along the way, we're going to have to bite the bullet and say we just can't do that. We got to come back to those principles I started when we opened, which is Americans take responsibility for themselves. Do you all remember, do you know from your parents and grandparents' time when the idea of an American taking charity from the government would almost get you punched in the nose? Because there was a visceral sense of pride. My dad was like that. I think we got to come back here again. We've got not only an economic problem, we got a values and cultural and spiritual problem.
Thank you, Bishop Jackson. Delegate Freitas.
You know, the omnibus bill, I think, was something of a betrayal. We've been telling the American people for a long time, put us in control of the House, put us in control of the Senate, put us in control of the White House, and we're spending under control, and we just demonstrated that we weren't willing to do it. And that's incredibly frustrating. And let me tell you why I specifically find it very frustrating. So I'm a veteran. I have 2 combat tours over in Iraq with Army Special Forces. I am really tired of being used as a political prop for why politicians want to continue to engage in profligate spending. Do you know what the military needs going forward in order to be secure? You know what the entire country needs? Fiscal soundness. Because if we're bankrupting the country in order to pay for the military right now, what does that say about the military in 20 years from now? So the idea is you fund the legitimate functions of government. You can debate about everything else. I don't think you should fund illegitimate functions of government. Fund the legitimate functions of government. But then you actually need to do genuine reform with respect to what we're spending money on and how we're spending money. Because right now what we have is a situation where politicians are buying your votes with your children's money. Or in many of our cases, they're buying our votes with your money. And again, it's not just fiscally irresponsible, it's morally reprehensible to do that to future generations. So no, I do not support this omnibus bill, and I certainly don't support anything like it in the future.
Thank you, Delegate Freitas. Chairman Stewart.
That was supposedly a Republican bill. It was really the Chuck Schumer bill. It contained everything that the Democrats, everything that the liberals wanted. It funded Planned Parenthood. It funded sanctuary cities. $1.3 trillion in additional deficit spending. And not a single dime for the construction of a wall. So why did they do it? Once upon a time in the United States Senate, you had chairmen who actually had authority, chairmen of the various committees that authorized spending. The Senate doesn't do it that way anymore. There's really only 2 people in the United States Senate who have any power whatsoever. And that's Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer. We have to take them down. And I mean that very seriously. They are the problem. Unfortunately, we do have, fortunately, some in the United States Senate who cast a vote against that budget. But even those did not speak up and call for the resignation of Mitch McConnell. Before we can take back our country, we have to take back our party, and that means removing those who have betrayed us, namely Mitch McConnell.
Thank you, Chairman Stewart. Our next question goes to Delegate Freitas. It's from Matthew Baker in Charlottesville, and it's regarding Social Security. Social Security currently sits at over $900 billion a year, the largest single component of the U.S. federal budget. As Senator, how would you ensure the program's solvency and prevent spending on Social Security from crowding out other budgetary priorities?
So I think one of the biggest problems that we've had in the current political dynamic is that politicians like to say, we're going to do all these things, but we won't touch Social Security. Let me just be painfully obvious and honest with you here right now. Any politician, anybody who's running for office that tells you that they're not going to be able to touch Social Security is lying to you and is not worthy of your trust. Right? Social Security, as soon as it was moved in the 60s into the general fund, where now all of a sudden Congress could use the money from that to spend it on other things and then fill it up with IOUs, essentially started to work like a Ponzi scheme. If the private sector was doing what the federal government is doing right now, people would be going to jail and everyone would be cheering. Right? The way that we have to get Social Security under control is essentially to do a couple of things. One, philosophically, we need to understand that the federal government has no constitutional authority, nor is it uniquely qualified to manage your retirement. Who in the hell, pardon me, would want the federal government managing their retirement? Second of all, we also need to honor the commitment we made to the people that are currently dependent on. And so one of the ways that we do that is we allow future generations the option to essentially say, if you want to take a portion of your Social Security and essentially write it off and promise to never use the program, but then you get access to the other portion you pay in Social Security so you can secure your own retirement in the plan that you want. That's the way that we can gradually phase this out to make it an optional program so we're no longer creating perpetual generational dependency on it and we're actually giving younger people the option, because right now, if it continues to go as it is, you won't have it and it won't be anything close. You'll just be paying the taxes and receiving no benefit. So it's imperative that we provide a solution that provides future generations other options.
Thank you, Delegate Freitas. Chairman Stewart, you have a minute?
Well, one way or the other, it's going to be reformed. You know why? Because it's unsustainable. By the time that you all retire, and I'm talking to those of you who are in your 20s, it's not going to be there. It has to be changed, and you need to be demanding it here on campuses, not protesting about other things, and you need to be protesting that. 40% of the United States budget, 40%, that's it, is discretionary. That means that Congress only appropriates 40%, $4 to $10. The other 60% is Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and debt service. We don't even have control of our own budget anymore in this country. We're headed toward a brick wall at 80 miles an hour. Unless it's changed, not only will Social Security not be there, but this country is going to be losing further. We've lost. We went down from a AAA bond rating status under President Obama when he took office, and now we're less than that. You know why? Because the creditors no longer believe that we're going to be able to pay our debts. And when that happens, there's not going to be anybody to bankroll the deficit spending that is occurring in this country right now. It's going to be up to all of you. Not one senator is going to be able to change that. It's going to be up to public pressure to say, save our country, save its finances, and make sure that I, as a 20 or 25-year-old, am not paying into a system from which I will never benefit.
Thank you, Chairman Stewart. Bishop Jackson, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, after hearing this, I'm filing for my Social Security tomorrow. I've done that yet. Look, I diverge from a lot of conservatives on this. Because for me, Social Security is a sacred promise. It's a promise. Now, I think that promise has in many ways been perverted, but it's still a promise that we make to people, ordinary people, who will now earn the kind of money probably that many of you will make, that when they get to their twilight years, they're going to be okay. Now, here I am. I just confess to you all, to my wife's chagrin, that I'm 66, and that dates her. She didn't like that. I haven't filed yet. Now, why? I don't really need it. But there are other people out there who do. And so, I think we've got to look at ways to reform it and assure the people who have accepted that promise that it will be there for them. And one thing we've got to discuss is privatization. I think we've got to discuss treating that money like it belongs to the person who's actually putting it into the system rather than treating it like a Ponzi scheme has been suggested. Galveston, Texas, as I understand it, has done this and they had remarkable success that it actually has become a wealth-building tool for people rather than something that just creates more dependence upon the government. So yeah, I'm one of those people who was very reluctant to imply somehow that we're simply not going to do it unless we change the covenant that we made with the American people when we started Social Security.
Thank you, Bishop Jackson. Our next question will start off with Chairman Stewart. The question comes to us from Allan Sandridge of Albemarle County. The subject of the question is student loan debt. How will you work to make college more affordable and at the same time alleviate student loan debt?
Well, Professor, I don't think you're going to like my answer. If you graduate from UVA with a degree in gender studies, you're not going to get a job. That's a fact. Something's wrong in our university system. We're spending more per capita and more per pupil than ever before in our history. And so many of you graduate with loads of debt from this university, a great university, and others across this country that you can't find jobs. That's wrong. That's an unfair burden placed upon you. It's an unfair burden placed upon your parents as well. We need educational reform. We don't need to find more money for education. We just need to change what we're teaching. You know, it's unfortunate in this country that even today, some people feel that those who work with their hands are somehow less educated or so forth. We need to change that attitude. Because the fact of the matter is that somebody graduates from a community college who knows how to weld, they've got their certification in welding or any of the construction trades, they're making more money than you. That's true. We need to fix it. But it's not by adding additional politically correct curriculum to your campus that is already riddled with it. That's got to be fixed, and that is what we need to do, is just frankly change our curriculum, and that will mean that some of your professors will be the ones without jobs.
Thank you, Chairman Stewart. I have to make an editorial observation as Dean of the school. Our first destinations report for last year's graduating class just came out, and 97% of the students at the Batten School are gainfully